Well, we see banks like RBC doing things that they've never done. We see food prices starting to rise and shipping prices on the increase. Just how is the Bahamas going to manage economically with COVID-19 still lingering? I am continuing this conversation and discussion with Bahamas Democratic Movement leader Cassius Stewart, who himself is a businessman. And in particular, of course, you're concerned about everything we talked about before the break, but you've been hit hard here. For example, what's happening globally with shipping is causing almost a bottleneck. And when you told me this earlier, I nearly tripped because, well, I don't bring in containers. But you said it once cost $5,000 just months ago, or perhaps a year ago. And what is it now?
$25,000.
It's $25,000 to bring in that same shipment as a business owner?
Yes, same container. What happens is that right now, normally for a 20-foot container, it was between $5,000. For a 40-foot container, it's probably between $7,000 and $8,000. That same container is now almost $20,000 to $25,000 just to bring that in. So you can imagine what the food stores Rupert Roberts are facing. AID is saying they're having the same problems. I'm having the same problems now. That how do we now absorb all of this cost? How do we pass this on to consumers and still able to sell products? Because now, if the commodity in a 20-foot container costs $20,000, but the shipping is $25,000, the shipping is more than the commodities in the product. And so now, when you pay duty, you pay duty on the price of the product and the shipping. So you pay duty on the $25,000 shipping plus the $20,000. And so basically what that is doing is really strangling the whole market now, because, this is not this problem is international though.
Yes, it is.
Because what is happening now is that China, 90% of all of the global containers are made in China. And when containers leave China, most of them don't get back to China because shipping companies don't want to send containers back empty because who bears the cost? So they're stuck in somebody's backyard and somebody's garage somewhere. And so what happened is now the containers is not getting back into China, which is now causing this global friction now. Compound with the COVID-19 2-week quarantine in some harbors like California, which got about 50 to 60 vessels
just
right now
sitting
out sea that can't dock. Then you get backlogs and you get all sorts of things. So what we're facing now is, do we continue in business at this rate? Or if we continue, can we pass this cost on? I mean, the IMF is saying that by the end of the year, we'll have a 5% increase in inflation. Now, that 5% is very, 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 very high.
That is very high.
When you're looking at the price of corned beef, the price of bread, the price of medical supplies, the price of everything is going to go up. Christmas supplies are going to be high because...
Well, let's sort of dissect this for a moment. Right now, you go into the stores. I mean, just this evening, young people are noticing it, like people just 20. You know what I mean? That on that level, like 20-year-olds are talking about the price of food that they would go in and they would normally buy, and then the selection is now has been condensed, and so the thing is you can't find certain items anymore. Is this now how this food shortage is now shaping up?
Exactly.
And is it going to expand even more?
Exactly, because when you see what SuperValue or Rupert Roberts is saying, that they now have to go and source and renegotiate and fight hard with their suppliers because their suppliers are also affected by the global chain. I'm in the medical field, the medical industries, and some of our major suppliers say, listen, we are back up on all of these products because we can't get access to these products. So what that does is now people who need medication, who need medical supplies, we'll have a shortage in the hospitals across the region. And so that is a very scary thing because now getting...
And this is when countries begin to kind of almost be, just, hey, it's about me. It's about taking care of my people and look out for themselves.
Yeah. But also too, you have to readjust yourself now. I mean, you got to readjust your spending habits because if you know inflation is going to go up, you can't be spending money on things that are not necessary. So you got to reinvent yourself. You got to readjust yourself. So for us as business people, we got to decide whether or not we're going to continue and can we absorb the cost. If we can absorb the cost, can we pass it on to the consumers? If the consumers can't absorb that, then that's it for us. But also to the consumers got to now say, listen, do I need to buy extra stuff that I don't need? Because food prices are going to go up. Christmas, we all will be affected by it for Christmas gifts and so on and toys. What Costco in the U.S. has done is they bought their own containers just so that they could have containers back and forth because they're being affected across the board.
Well, I want you to tell people who are watching right now, Bahamians, because sometimes we tend to, if we don't think about it too much, we think it don't exist. there are stores like Costco in the United States right now that's limiting its clientele to one item per household.
Yep.
Like toilet paper, like hand towel, like that. Talk about that.
Yeah, because what they're facing is major issues, and so what they have to do in order to secure their supply chain is purchase containers themselves and ship them back and forth to bring their commodities in. I suspect Walmart is doing the same thing in order to have that constant flow, but they are affected by this also. You can imagine the shipping of fuel as well too will go up because fuel has to be shipped too if there's a shortage on containers of shipping. And so across the board you will see an increase in price. But also to remember now the Bahamas is one of the countries with one of the highest standards of living in the world. Prices are already high. And so but when you compound that from Nassau to Eleuthera, then go down to Inagua, as you ship further down south, the prices go up. So one bottle of alcohol probably was $7 I saw it in the shop in Eleuthera, $7. One bottle is $1 in Nassau, but it's $7 there. And so when you're looking at what they got to bear, it's too much for them to bear. And so, I mean, there's not much the government can do per se, but it's a global problem that the consumers got to adjust themselves to.
When do we see this lifting? We were warned, but then now, the reality is now sinking in. I know people are saying not even January. No. When is this going to start sort of just slack?
My suppliers told me that after the Chinese New Year holidays, it would drop. It dropped by $1,000. I told them, I said, that's not enough for me. And so we don't see probably the first or second quarter of next year. You'll probably see the hemorrhaging stops. But they have to find a better way of dealing with the shipping lines and getting the containers back into.
Is the sort of that shipping crisis globally that's an issue starting from China and not being able to kind of have this.
Yeah, everything going back because